corrupting, changing taint despoils all before it. Only the strongest will endure.
Total War Warhammer has finally arrived. Sega and Creative Assembly have been working on this for such a long time, and it really shows, and it's been so worth the wait, guys, because this is, for me, this is as good as it gets for Total War. This is fantastic. So they've collaborated with Games Workshop to make this a reality. This is actually based on Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and it's the first time a license has been used for the Total War series. I mean, we're obviously extremely comfortable with seeing historical battles in the Total War series with Total War Shogun and Total War Rome and Napoleon. But this, I mean, really fits. Warhammer and Total War just go together so naturally, and it really shows from the moment you play the game. It's very, very obvious that this was meant to be. This is a marriage made in heaven, so to speak. But there's going to be like extensive mod support available, which is really exciting for us at Expansive, because it means like we're going to be playing this game months, even years to come. There's obviously DLC already available with the Chaos Warriors, and there's more announced. And this is the first of an intended trilogy as well, just to, you know, really show that there's a lot of support and a lot of attention and a lot of love going into this series from the very beginning. And yeah, I mean, this is just such a great hybrid. I mean, this is just so perfect. It's the 10th title in the Total War series, and you think that maybe ideas are starting to get a bit stagnant or things are starting to feel a bit run down, but the fact that this is the first time in a high fantasy setting as well, I mean, it just feels totally authentic, and it really freshens things up as well. It's great. I mean, you've got turn-based sandbox campaigns as you would expect, as well as the real-time battles which you're used to from Total War, and those just feel as good as they've ever felt. The campaigns are sort of split between different factions, and they've all got different ranges in difficulty. You're seeing at the moment me playing as the Dwarves. They're actually the easiest faction to play and get along with, so I would definitely recommend you start with them. But you can also jump in and be the Men of the Empire. You can be Orcs and Goblins. You can be the Vampire Counts, or if you actually pre-order the game in advance, so you've got the DLC, you can be the Chaos Warriors too. The Warhammer humour is just so authentic, and it's so evident throughout. They've Creative Assembly and Sega have really sort of captured the tone wonderfully in the battles, in the written pieces, in the game, in the actual, even the animations and the artwork. It's just also, the quirkiness is there blended in with the serious, and it's just great. I mean, the battles are just glorious to watch and play out as they just turn out into all these crazy fun massacres, and all in this sort of typical high fantasy setting that you know and love from Warhammer. But you also get scenario sequences which develop story within the campaigns. They're like their own little, they really build the tension up. So like you get enclosed areas, like a tunnel, for instance, within the Dwarf campaign, where you have to fight out through the tunnel and try to survive that. And there's a lot of different factors that happen within that scenario to try and, you know, really throw you off and prepare your strategies in different ways. So there's a lot of that cool aspect to it as well. And it is all just so very tactical, and that's the staple which made the series so great over the years. The use of the terrain, for instance, to gain the tactical advantages is still there, like the slopes and the dips. You get weather effects like snow, which can impair your vision, and also make it very difficult to see what your opponent is planning to do next. So you really have to adapt your tactics on the fly for sure. You can adjust formations to have sort of melee warriors towards the front of the formation, or you can have your archers towards the front, or you can have catapults and such firing from the back. But obviously with different unit types, you really have to consider what you're going up against and how you're going to take on the battles, and, you know, what's really going to be the most effective way to ensure victory. And as a result, you are going to approach the battles very, very differently each time. You're actually seeing now, I'm actually about to jump into a battle to take over a settlement. Settlements are very much like, it's kind of like the board is a bit like Monopoly, in that you control one lane of settlements, then you have that complete control. Whereas if you only have one of, say, 3 settlements, then you're really going to have to kind of, you know, work to try and build morale and you know, work to try and get the rest of the settlements as well. And it's not just about the battles on the battlefield, obviously, as well. You've got to develop your morale of your troops, because outside of battle it's very Civ-like. So you take it in terms of other factions on the boards, and you can sort of form alliances, call truces, declare war, negotiate terms, or simply just trade with other people on the board if you've got, you're on decent terms with them. But in terms of that as well, if you're not boosting the morale, then people will rebel against you and cause issues. So you have to deal with internal conflict as well as external. And then you've also got the instance of whether or not you kill captives, or you sort of use those captives to your own advantage, or you keep them as prisoners and kind of like antagonize your opponents more and more, and that affects your leadership qualities and the lords that you bring into battle, whether or not they can declare the kind of leadership qualities needed to ensure victory. You also gain heroes due to your successes in campaigns and such, and how you use those heroes effectively to kind of make sure that you're gonna, you're building that morale and developing that the campaign and that faction in such a way that people are going to respect you on the board, and you're going to gain that supremacy over everything. You also develop technologies in order to further your conquest. So for instance, you can increase the amount of money earned from settlements, or you can increase your trade relations, or you can even look at sort of developing your internal sort of public morale boosting, or whether or not you're going to tax people, or you're going to help them to making their own money and gain jobs and things like that. So there's really so much to think about. And even though this is sort of like a Warhammer property, it really is made authentic as a Total War experience, and that's definitely something that's clear from this. Again, there's not just the campaigns as well. There's self-contained quest missions, which are like self-contained stories, again varying in difficulty. So they're like individual battles, which are quite famous within Warhammer lore. And of course you've got the extensive multiplayer component, which is just seamless and plays really well. Again, I think if you've had some experience playing Total War, you're probably going to have advantage over people who are just coming into the series. But there is also a nice easing in point as well, I think. So like, even if you are a complete noob to this, you're going to know how to get into, you're going to know how to play the game fairly early on, and you're going to get better and better the more you play and understand how things work. As I said before, there is actually a DLC already available for this. It's the Chaos Warrior pack. That's really interesting actually, because there is going to be more coming along with it. But with this, you get 3 new playable legendary lords, you get new Chaos Warrior mounts, units, and monsters. There's new quests, magic items, and abilities, as well as a Horde campaign playstyle. The legendary lords are actually Sigvald the Magnificent, Kolek, Sun-Eater, and Archaon the Ever-Chosen. And in addition to that, you get new units, as I said, like the Chaos Warriors, the Chaos Dragon, and Forsaken, as well as Dragon Ogres and things like that. So all in all, I would say Total War Warhammer is an absolute success. It's really genuinely so much fun to play. You're going to find yourself jumping on for 1 minute and then hours have gone by. I would wholeheartedly recommend this, and yeah, this is just a wonderful experience. Thanks for watching.